Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Now, the name of the game, or one of the names of the game, is seller finance. Doesn't matter if you overpay in seller finance. Doesn't. You're stretching out the payments to satisfy the seller. And you know that you're going to refinance, or the new terminology is recapitalize, in 3 to 5 years and pull out, if you do it right and you have smart people on your team, you'll pull out more money than you paid for all of them put together. And everybody knows this. You can't find a taxi driver in New York that doesn't know this. But nobody does it. Because it's easier to listen to Tony Robbins or somebody. I'm not slagging Tony. I know him. He's a great guy. He's saved a lot of people. But he doesn't know how to do this. And there's only 10 or 15 guys that know how to do this. And they're both of them, all of them are dry, boring, college professor types. And they have social media of 3,900, 11. I mean, nobody listens to them. Janet Yellen, who's the head of the Treasury, is actually a very smart gal. She couldn't give a blowjob away to a fucking drunken sailor. That's just it. So the guys and the gals, the few that actually know who shot John, normally they're at my end of the continuum vis-a-vis age. And, they got nothing to prove. They got accolades and degrees, et cetera, et cetera. But this, just as Jason has become more or less a legend, he's not the only one. Marcus Bauer, Bavarian Bob, who's not here, the Goomba brothers, these guys have made themselves legends in 5, 6, 7 years because they made a lot of money. If they'd just been flapping their lips and they didn't make any money, nobody cares. But you need to follow, and tomorrow afternoon when I tell you the newspapers to read, if you have to read, the books to read, if you have to read, and a couple other tidbits, it's boring shit. Reading the Financial Times every day is like brushing your teeth with an iron brush. They couldn't give away a blowjob either. But the information is pretty fucking accurate in the Financial Times. As opposed to, other papers. I read the quarterly economic reviews out of the IMF and the World Bank. And when 5 or 6 out of the 10 all say the same thing, I pay attention. That isn't very often. And that's why I've known for 2 or 3 years, commercial real estate is going to be the one that takes the next hit. And it's already started. Some of the biggest builders in the world have filed bankruptcy in the last 12 or 15 months. And when Elon Musk says, I said this the first day, I owe $1.7 billion in rentals, I'm not paying a penny since last November. Not one lawsuit has been filed against them. And they're talking about all this office space in New York. They're going to replan it, reprogram it, they're going to turn it into something else. I'm still waiting for the first one. We're going to make this, that, and the other thing. And I said the first day, when the Saudi, I call it Middle Eastern money, when the Saudi money dried up, it was the end, the beginning of the end for luxury apartments, condos, office space around the world. Now they do an NEOM, where they say they put up $500 million and they've sucked over almost $2 trillion out from you because you want to invest with them. There's just certain things that, when you've been around. And because I've been around the Onassis people, I've been around a lot of very rich people that, remember, it's not what you get on your money as a return. It's you getting a return of your money. That's what counts. All the rest is horseshit. Somebody had their hand. Yes, sir.
Back to your comments earlier about...
By the way, is Jason in person this way?
Worse.
Yeah, worse. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Back to your early comments about unions.
Yes,
how
sir.
can I kill any discussion among employees about
Do you already have the union
joining
there?
union? No.
Oh,
no,
okay,
they're discussing it. How can I kill that discussion?
I don't know about there, but generally speaking, the law is if there's one rep guy that wants to have a union meeting, if you can get so many in a group, then you can have a union meeting. It's that one guy you got to not stifle, I don't mean hurt, but you got to shut up. And one of the ways when I would go into a company before the unions formed is I'd ship that guy. If I could find a reason to fire that guy, I did. Or I shipped that guy to Madagascar or someplace. Or I had another business. Or I made him an offer he couldn't refuse to get him out of that. Because unions had a place 120 years ago. They don't have the same place now. Okay, that's why union representation has gone from, 18 million, 75 years ago down to 4 or 5 million. But they will be the first or second or third step death knell for your business. Because the unions want to, just like in the EU, they want a 32-hour work week. Or like the French, they want a 25-hour work week. And I know categorically that even the kind of employees that you're hiring these days, 40-hour work week, we're going to get more done than a 25-hour work week. But there is there's a key person, or two or three. And I'm not saying manufacturer reason to fire them, but I mean, it depends how their employment contract's written. A lot of these people, when you take over a business, by the way, one of the first things you do is everybody's employment contract is null and void. We're going to sign new employment contracts. New, which are going to be major shareholder friendly. And you won't have to fire people because they'll leave. And now, a lot of people have legitimately found secondary and tertiary ways to make money on the net. On the net, internet. So they, internet sales, et cetera, et cetera. When the net first started to develop in the early 2000s, they underestimated it. Some little lady in Bangalore, India, can compete against you, and there's no way that you can match their price. Because they have no overhead. They're doing third-party work. They're selling you that magic carpet, for a reasonable price. And that whole dilemma started, and I think I told you that Sally and I back in the day were one of the largest advertisers in Google. But now, the World Wide Web is good and the bad. The good is a lot of people that weren't able to make money before can now. The bad news is they're competing against you. And you can't compete price-wise for any lifetime. And the third thing, which is a given, any model that you come up that works can be replicated in 48 hours, 96 hours in Belarus, Korea, China, or whatever. Because the cost of labor, and there's guys and gals that are trolling the internet 24/7, 365, looking for products that work, looking for ideas that work. Most of the ideas don't work, but by the time you find out, you've already invested a bunch of money. More importantly, time. You've heard Marcus say and me say, you can get money back, but you can't get time. And even though virtually everybody in this room is young compared to me, why piss away time when you don't have to? You don't have to. And the older you get and the less runway you have left, the more time becomes important to you, and you can see the time that you've wasted. And although I don't consider Jason to have wasted too much time, because he's still young, and he's made a lot of money, but he knows the mistakes, and he alluded to it briefly, where he could have done something different but didn't. But he stuck to his guns. The biggest learning point from him is you don't have to sign guaranteeing stuff, and you can almost always get non-recourse money if you hold out, and you cry long enough, scream long enough. And it's easier for minorities to get non-recourse money. Wrongfully so, but that's just what it is. Oh no, I want to do it for inclusion and trying to do the right thing.
How much do you have to give?
No, I mean, it's just that they'll sell you their daughter for 2%. Their unborn daughter. 2% of the... I mean, 1%. I was in a deal in Nigeria years ago. 1%. No, the bank the bank doesn't care if they have a millionth of a percent, as long as they're owner. Correct. Director of Ethiopian history, or the director of wherever, Persian history or some shit. But now more and more. I mean, I'm getting ready to go to Poland to lecture at a couple of universities. At the same time, we're visiting the home of Chopin Vodka. Sally bought, anyway, she got involved and bought some shit and donated some money. And so we're supposed to get a tour of Chopin Vodka. And so I'm going to speak at Polish University at the same time. Even in Poland, they talk about inclusion. You got to have color. Now, they don't say you got to hire a black guy. They don't say it that way. But part of the inclusion, if you look at the World Bank's definition of inclusion, it's male, female, what's the other thing called? No. Yeah, thank you. LGBT, yeah, thank you. And so this sounds awful, but I'd like to hire one person to cover all those. Yeah, but sometimes, I'm fine. You want to be LGBT? God bless you. I don't give a shit. But you should have a girl, a guy, an Asian, a black person. Some of the black people I put in aren't black. They don't consider themselves black. I told a couple of stories. The guy's black, but he just says he's not black. So, then he ain't the right guy to put on, But we had a kid here 20 years ago. His father was the ambassador, Dutch ambassador to UK. And this was in the day of afros, afro hairdos. He had a big afro hairdo, but he contended he wasn't black. And then graduation night, like everybody's drinking, and he was a purported Muslim, graduation night, he said his great-great-grandfather was from Ghana. Last time I checked, Ghana was black, and just because it's 4 generations in between, but you should give other people an opportunity to be on the board, if they add value. If they don't add value, then I would rather fight with the banks or whoever and say that, I couldn't find anybody. But there are qualified people that are minorities, myself included. I'm a minority, although I don't get any credit for it. But, I'm a minority. But building your board, as you've already been told, is the easiest part. It's buying the companies is not that hard, but operating them. And for those guys that are operating today in businesses, I don't have to tell them it's not easy. And it's getting tougher. And I believe it's going to get tougher for a long, long, long time. It's going to get tougher so you can replace these people with artificial intelligence, which aren't supposed to replace jobs, according to the bullshit, but will replace jobs. Now, do you have room for artificial intelligence to take over some of your job positions? Yeah. There's a car detailer in here. Where is it? Yeah. But you know what I told you anyway. Anything else? Yes, sir.
So, EBITDA, cash flow, risk profile, and land ownership.
No, land ownership, not when the initial purchases.
But it's part. Don't they do an add back or something to increase the EBITDA?
You can, but you let somebody else do the add back. Fine. Let's say that you own the land on these car wash things. Okay, that's great. But if I was buying them, I said, that's great. And I know what you've been told about having the land, but let's talk about it. Let's have a 3 and 5 year option. And we'll talk about buying them at a fixed price down the road. And if you ever come to buying them, it's because we refinanced and we pulled out money to buy them, not because we give you value up front. And any transaction lawyer that's worth a shit knows how to do this. But almost everybody has been told, from doctors, the chiropractors, the guys that perhaps own car washes, the land is, is your, not security blanket, but your, additional value. Correct. Yes, sir. But in today's world, all you want is the income producing, the EBITDA producing part of the equation. That's all you want. Well, no, they can't. Well, I don't. See, I don't. I give no value for the land. Yeah. I go find a mooch. Yeah. I mean, go find some mooch who just got his MBA from Harvard. He'll add it back, not me. Fortunately, most of the guys that have been sent out in the field to do private equity transactions are these young MBAs that don't know shit. When I was on Wall Street, I had a reputation. Peña saliva starts running down his face when he sees a young MBA out of Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Stanford. So I'm going to eat him alive. And it's normally the junior guys of the teams that are looking at deals that are less than $1 billion, not the senior guys. The senior guys are, off, on their yacht someplace. Like I told you about Sally when we went to the North Pole, that young lady that had a pee out there and there was no toilet for a gazillion miles. She happened to be a young MBA, just in her MBA school. Okay, YouTube.